All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. We are now almost 2 minutes past the hour. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into things here. Once again, use that chat box if you have any questions. So first off, I want to say once again, thank you all for joining. This is our first STEM Wednesdays learning session. We've been talking about doing this for a while, and we're going to be doing it every single Wednesday starting today. So this is the first of many learning sessions talking about all things STEM in the classroom. So today we're obviously going to be talking about 3D printing made easy for educators. We're going to be going through a lot of content in a short period of time. I'm going to be talking fast, but hopefully you hear some cool stories, find out some ways that 3D printing is being used in the industry. We're going to talk about some resources that you can use today, and also talk about some of the stuff that we have for you. Okay. So first and foremost, I just wanted to say thanks for coming. We are going to be doing, this is the first one, so we're going to do a little $100 Amazon gift card giveaway at the end. If you are one of our sales partners, you cannot win this. I apologize if you're on here or one of our team members. So I have put together a little spinning wheel with all the people that registered that are, teachers and things like that, or administrators. So thank you all. We're going to be doing that at the end. Quick poll. I want to find out what your interest is in 3D printing, or what your experience is in 3D printing, I should say. John sent a message. Yes, John, I believe I responded back to that email. So go ahead and check that out. But quick poll, we're going to start with that. First off, 1 is know nothing. And I'm going to send the poll out here in a second. 2 is I'm familiar with 3D printing, or 3 is I'm an expert. So I'm going to go ahead and send that poll out to you guys, and go ahead and vote on this poll. Number 1 is I've heard of 3D printing, but I haven't used one before. Number 2 is I've used a 3D printer before, but not consistently in a classroom or school space. Number 3 is I am a 3D printing expert. Thank you very much. I try to give you a little sass on the third one there. So don't take it too seriously. I'm not going to judge you if you pick 3. If you're a 3D printing expert, go ahead and put that in there as well. All right. I will give it just another second here, and then I will display the results here. So it looks like we have mostly 1s and 2s. So I'll share that with you guys so you can see where we're at here. So a lot of 1s, heard of 3D printing, haven't used one before. 2, used a 3D printer before, but not consistently. So we're going to go through and talk about some of the resources that are at your disposal to use this 3D printer in your classroom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and jump from there. I think the first thing that I want to say, which you guys can all probably agree, especially those that are 2s in there or 3s, is that 3D printing is important, guys. It's important as a technology, it's important to develop skills in the classroom. And we'll talk about some of the things and reasons why, right? Why is 3D printing important? Well, it promotes creativity in a school space, right? Whether that's a maker space, classroom, whatever it may be, it promotes creativity. It develops what we call an engineering mindset. And I'm sure all of you have heard of what an engineering mindset is, but it's really a process of thinking and a process of solving problems, right? So that could be in the classroom, or that could be outside of the classroom, which is really great. It allows students to solve problems by creating solutions, and it builds self-confidence in students. If you've ever seen a student go from thinking about an idea to designing it, to printing it and holding it in their hands, it is a magical experience. So something I highly, highly recommend checking out. Okay. And then 3D printing is impacting every major industry, which means lots of career opportunities. So these are just some of the primary examples of why 3D printing is important. Okay. So let's talk about some of the areas that it's impacting, right? 3D printed products, right? That's probably the most common one, is products and prototypes. Being able to create things with a 3D printer either before you bring it to the market, or actual products that are 3D printed that are in the marketplace. 3D printed aerospace, automotive, right? Creating engines. So most of the cars we drive in, the planes we fly in, all have 3D printed components. So that is a massive industry for it. 3D printing homes, right? So there's a whole industry on 3D printing homes. I'm sure you've seen that. The first 2-story home was just completed in Houston, Texas. So lots of cool things going on in construction and 3D printing. There's a whole industry on bio 3D printing, so actually making organs, which is really cool. And then, of course, the most recent example of 3D printing that I love, because it's a major industry, is making rockets, right? And a company in LA just completed the first 3D printed rocket that was launched into space, which was a really cool thing to see. So a little bit about me, guys. I'm Braydon. I'm one of the co-founders of Robo 3D, which is a 3D printing solution we have at Boxlight, which is the company that we all work at and we do these webinars with. So I've been doing 3D printing for almost 10 years now. I started in a garage, just like any other startup, making my own 3D printer, and turned it into a business. And we've been doing that for a very long time. So lots of experience in 3D printing. We've been working with schools for over 6 years now, helping them implement this technology. So if you're a teacher, a school administrator that are on here, we can help with some really great products and curriculum for your school. The reason why I do this, or why I love doing this, besides the fact that it's cool to have a product that can help people create things, is the stories that come around it, right? So Shelly Emsley is one of those stories. She was a 5th grade teacher. I first met her back in 2017 at ISTE, one of the education technology conferences. She came to me and says, 3D printing is so cool. I don't know what to do or where to get started. And I was like, listen, we have a curriculum platform. We have really easy to use machines. Just get them, start using it, get comfortable with the technology, and it'll start to take a life of its own, right? And so she started doing that. She started using them in her 5th grade class. They started going from printing models and using them to teach to then doing design. And then she's at home one night and finds out that coral reefs are dying around the world in a documentary she was watching. So she went back to her class and they started developing 3D printed coral and making a coral wall. And then they took it one step further and started working with marine biologists, and they started developing structures that can be 3D printed with an algae-based 3D printing material that can be planted in the ocean, and they can build, grow, and sustain coral colonies. So it's a really cool way to use 3D printing. And it started with a teacher that had no idea where to get started or what to do. And so this is our ethos with 3D printing, right? Is how do we take beginner or novice users and make them power users with our 3D printers, okay? So a couple of the questions we're going to go through. What is 3D printing? It sounds like most of you already know what that is, so that's great. I can slide through that pretty quickly. Key features to look for: where in schools can 3D printers be used? Where do you find models and content? All that. So once again, lots to pack in this short session, but I'm going to go through it quick and give you some of those resources, talk to you about some of the materials. And once again, if you have any questions, I can hang on for another 10 minutes or so at the end of this. Okay, so what is 3D printing? I've had this in here for a very long time, just because sometimes there's people that haven't seen it before. Most of you have seen it. So it really, in a simple way, is a machine that takes plastic or other materials and it builds something from the ground up, right? Until you have a 3-dimensional object. So this is just a time lapse showing that. It's also known as additive manufacturing. And we'll talk about some of the 3D printing processes. I'm not going to get into all of these because they're very complicated. I don't want your eyes to glaze over, but these are some of the processes. So there's additive processes, which means we're taking a material, melting it down, and then building with something, right? It could be powder, it could be plastic, things like that. And then there's solidifying processes, which we're taking a liquid and we're turning it into a hard object, right? Or a 3D object. Okay, so those are SLA, DLP, SLS, things like that. So you can look at any of these if you want to take a little screenshot of it, go back to the recording if you want to watch it and check this out. The one we use in education is called FDM or FFF, right? Fused deposition modeling, which means plastic printing, right? And why do we use this? Well, it's cheap. It's easy to function for beginners. It's minimal, if any, post-processing. So when you pull something off the platform, it's ready to go, right? It's safe, right? The material we use mainly is called PLA. We're going to talk about some materials, but it's food safe, it's environment safe, all that stuff. So it's good. So education preferred. And the only real con is that people say it takes a while. But in all reality, guys, if you're using a 3D printer and you can just press print, go have lunch and come back and your print's done, you know, and you're making something completely custom, that is pretty fast. You know, in a world where, you know, at minimum, even buying something online and waiting for it to deliver takes 24 hours. So that's that. Couple of things, key features. All right. If you're just getting started and you're like, hey, I'm looking for a 3D printer, what do I look for an education 3D printer? Well, here's some of the things. One, safety is important, right? You need to make sure it's enclosed. It has a HEPA filter, all that stuff. It needs to be quiet, right? So that's important. Easy to use. That's a no-brainer, right? If you're having teachers that are first-time users that are like, I don't even know how to use this thing, it scares me, you have to have an easy-to-use 3D printer, okay? You need to make sure that it connects to your networks, right? So all these things are really important. Is it compatible with your Chromebooks, your iPads, all that stuff, right? Is there an open filament system? And for those of you that know 3D printing, you know what I'm saying, right? Can I use other materials that are out there, right? I don't want to be limited by a machine that can only use certain materials that they have, right? Portable, right? No fuss with calibration, post-moving. It needs to have, like, this is a feature. So if you don't know what 3D printers are, this is something that's really important. Flexible heated platform. And then the big thing is curriculum with 3D models, right? You need a way to use this in all the respective classrooms. Maybe ask, will there be a recording available? yes, maybe there will be a recording available, okay? So we'll be sharing that recording with everyone that registered or everyone that was an attendee, okay? So I just wanted to talk about why, when we talk about like the key features to look for in a 3D printers, why we have 3D printers that are made that way, okay? So that just kind of is leading into that. We made two models, the E3 and the E3 Pro. I'm not going to go in depth on those because we want to talk more about value of 3D printing in the classroom and what you can do and how you can get started. But there is the two machines we have, which I'll show you at the end, that you can look into and get some more information. Now, 3D printing projects, right? Most people think of 3D printers as a machine that can just do engineering, right? But we can use this technology in all different areas of education, right? Or subjects of education or grade levels of education, right? It can be applied from kindergarten or pre-K all the way to 12th grade, right? And beyond, right? University level as well. So obviously engineering and design is one of those spaces, but you can use them in physics class. You can use them in science class, in art class, in geometry and math, right? In history. So there's lots of different areas where this technology can bring learning to life. So that's something we want to focus on. And that's something we focus on in our curriculum platform, which I'm going to give you guys all an extended trial at the end of this. Okay. So I'm going to do a quick poll again, because I need some more answers from you guys, right? So let's go ahead and do the next poll, which is what grades, oh wait, sorry. Oh, I must have not put that poll in here. Oh, no, I did put it in here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and launch this. It's going to say what grades and subjects would you like to use a 3D printer for? Okay, so just go ahead and select what grades you are and what subjects, because this makes me realize if you guys are thinking about 3D printing, you can select more than one, obviously. But thinking about 3D printing and how it can be applied to different types of subjects and topics. Okay, it looks like we have some science stuff, some technology. It looks like we have some special education, some mathematics, some really good answers coming in here. I'm going to go ahead and give it 5 more seconds in here for everyone to get their answers in here. So this is great. We have a wide range of, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll now and show you the results. We have a wide range of educators in here from all different grade levels, which is awesome. And we have a bunch of different subjects. So you guys get it, right? 3D printing can bring all different subjects to life, right? We can create things, and I'm going to show you in our curriculum platform, that you can use in math to teach, that you can use in science to teach, that you can use in social studies to teach, right? It can be used to create a unique and fun learning experience for students. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing that, and we're going to move on to the next thing here. So where can a 3D printer be used? A couple of spaces. Classroom is one of those spaces. Like I said, you can use the 3D printer to bring subjects to life. That's K-12 or pre-K to 12, all different types of subjects and topics. You can use it in a library or a media center, right? A lot of library and media centers are being revamped into engaging STEM spaces, okay? So using a hands-on tool like a 3D printer can really help bring those spaces to life. And obviously the makerspace, right? The one thing I would say with a library and or makerspace is if you're going to have them in those locations, have 1 or 2 either design challenges or activities that can be done with the 3D printer from the get-go, right? So if students come in there and they don't know where to start, they have a place to get started, okay? How do you get started, right? You're in here to kind of learn about 3D printing and how to get started 3D printing. So we're going to talk about that real quick here. So first one is obviously have an education 3D printer, one that checks all the boxes. Some of you might already have that, which is great. If you don't, once again, please reach out to us. We can help you get some information on our printers. And then number 2 is determine which path you want to get started, guys. So there's going to be a path where you're either going to design, right? And some schools want to go straight into design, right? They're just ready to get their students engineering. Sometimes that might be a little bit difficult of a leap to do. So you might want to start with something a little bit simpler, which I call print and teach, right? And so in our curriculum platform, I'm going to jump over and show you that. We have a lot of print and teach lessons. So let's go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing my screen there and I'm going to share my other screen and we are going to jump into that. Okay. So once again, guys, I'm going to give you all a extended trial to mystemkits.com if you're on this web or this learning session at the end. So stay tuned for that. Now, when you get our 3D printers, or if you have other 3D printers, this platform is also compatible with 75 different brands of 3D printers. So you can go in here once you activate your trial and go in and check resources and see which ones are compatible. But then you go in here and you click this printer management tab, and you can actually link your 3D printer into mystemkits.com. Okay. So what's cool about that is if you have them in a makerspace or a library and you want to share them with your teachers, you just click share printer and you can share them with your teachers. Now, once you've loaded them in here, you go into browse kits and we have tons of pre-built lesson plans. So when I said print and teach, this is for teachers that just want an easy way to get started, right? I don't know how to use this printer in my classrooms. I'm a little scared of the technology. I just need an easy way to get started. So you can go in here, you can filter by grade level, you can filter by subject, you can search in the search bar by topic, subject, standard, and find really cool content, right? So if I click into this catapult kit, I can watch a little video about the catapult. I can go down here and see I have tons of different lesson plans across different subjects and grade levels. And then if I want to print these models, what's cool is I can just click print, choose my printer, and it's going to send that print directly to my 3D printer, okay? Whether you have our Robo 3D printers or whether you have another brand of 3D printers that's compatible, it's going to work just like that, which is really awesome. So it'll take that model, prepare it to the printer, send it over to the machine, and then it'll load it actually in here. Now, I'm going to let this load in a section. We have in a second, we have a camera on our machine. So I wanted to show you that, put a little fun note in there. So we have a really easy way, once again, for teachers to get started. You'll see that it says High STEM Wednesdays in there. So we have a little camera on our machine so you can monitor your prints. So that's one of the cool things you could do. Does the material expire? John Garber asked. It does not necessarily expire if it's actually in the packaging. If it's vacuum sealed, if it's out of the packaging, there is an expiration on it. Just depends on what material you have. If it's 5 years old, you can try it. If it's brittle, I probably wouldn't use it. But if it's not brittle, you can try and run it through the machine. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel that print. I just wanted to show you that process. Now, once I print a couple of these catapults, I can do these activities that are on here, right? I can click into them. These are all standards driven activities. So state and NGSS standards. So I can click into them, adjust my state, and get a full lesson plan. So teacher guide and student worksheet. Now you'll see also we have design challenges and quite a few of these kits as well. So you can go from print and teach, and when you feel comfortable, you can go into a design and engineering challenge. Okay, so all of the above. We want you to go from a novice or beginner user to an advanced user in this platform. And so you have all the resources to do that. Print models, teach with those models, and then jump into design challenges when you feel comfortable and ready to do that. Now, all our design challenges use a platform called Tinkercad. I'm going to jump in and just show you that real quickly, just for sake of time. Tinkercad is a free 3D modeling software. Okay, we use Tinkercad because it's very easy for students to get up and running and start creating things that they can then send to the printer. As a teacher, you can also set up a Tinkercad classroom. Okay, so if you want to do design, this is how you do it. You set up a classroom, it's really easy to do, and then you can share this class link with your students, okay? And once they join your classroom, you can see everything they're designing, right? So if they're making things that are inappropriate, which you know students might do, you can tell them to stop doing that. They can also name their prints ready to print, right? So when they're done with their 3D design, they can name it ready to print. And then you can go in there and check to make sure it looks good. All right, this looks like a good model. I can print this. And then I can go export. I can choose 3D print. And one of the cool things with our printers, guys, is you just click on the Robo logo, which is what our printers are called, the Robo 3D printers, and it's going to put the model directly into the cloud, right? So now I can just send this directly to the printer through Tinkercad. Okay, so using 3D design or 3D modeling and being able to get it to the printer is very simple with our education 3D printers, okay? So design challenges, ready to go kits, everything you need in mystemkits.com. Once again, I'm going to share a link to this at the end so you can sign up for a trial. So thank you all. Please, once again, any more questions, feel free to type them in that chat box. Okay. So those are the two places to get started, design or print and teach. If you're just getting started, I recommend print and teach with something like my STEM kits and then moving into design. The cool thing about my STEM kits is this slide right here, right? If you're a first-time teacher using a 3D printer, you have the normal way to 3D print, which is this process on the left. You got to find and sift through models online. You have, once found, you have to download your models. You have to bring them into a slicing software and choose from a ton of settings. And then you have to slice the file, save it on a thumb drive, and connect to the printer. The way my STEM kits works is you just go in there, you can filter by grade level and subject, and then you go to the models and press print. Okay, so it's a very simple process. Once again, for schools and districts, it makes it really easy and scalable to put 3D printers in front of your teachers. Okay. Are there grants to buy the curriculum? Yes, there are many grants. I'll talk about that with you at the end. But once again, much easier for educators using my STEM kits. Now, to take a little bit of a different gear here, we're going to move into some of the different filaments that are out there. So there's some for strength, which I'm going to talk about. ABS and PLA are probably the most common in this category. PLA is not normally known for strength, but it's the one that's most commonly used in education, primarily because it's biodegradable, it's food safe, it's kid safe, it's made from cornstarch. So it's a really simple material, but you can make it strong. ABS is like an engineering grade plastic. So that's one that's most common. And then you could do things like nylon, and there's another material called polycarbonate. Functional materials, there's flexible materials that are out there. There's wood infused plastic, so you can sand it and stain it. There's magnetic materials that you can print it, and it actually is magnetic when you pull it off the platform. And then there's things like wax, where you can do things like create wax cast molding and things like that. There's fun stuff, right? There's glow in the dark materials. There's heat color changing materials. There's sandstone, which give a cool texture and feel to it. So lots of stuff around there. And then there's metallic and silk materials as well you can use with 3D printers. And then there's also biodegradable stuff. PLA is one of them, but there's also a material that's made from algae. I told you about the story about Shelley in the beginning. Shelley used an algae-based 3D printing material. Okay, so the two major factors are print temperature and open source. Couple of model resources I want to talk about. I know we only have about 7 minutes left. We started a little bit late, so we might run over briefly, but here's some source resources that are good for you guys to check out. Thingiverse is one of those, right? It's a 3D model marketplace. There's another one called My Mini Factory. These are places you can go and get millions of free 3D models. So the beauty about 3D printers and the 3D printing industry is lots of designers upload stuff for free. So we can go on there and download them and print them. You can also download them and bring them into Tinkercad and use them as a template to build stuff off of them, okay? So look for STL file and make sure you look for reviews on these products to make sure they're good. Shapeways is a 3D service center. So if you go to shapeways.com, if you have a model that you want to make in a metal or a really cool material, you can take that model into Shapeways, upload it in there, and you can choose from like 50 different materials and colors and all that stuff. So it's a really cool way to print like a final prototype of something or something you're creating in the classroom that a student's really excited about. You can print it via Shapeways in a multitude of different materials. And then you can build your own, which I showed you at Tinkercad. Okay. So I always recommend if you're getting started with design in your school, your classroom, your makerspace, start with Tinkercad. It's free and it's really easy. Okay. It's made by a company called Autodesk. There's lots of other versions of modeling software by Autodesk. So you can start with Tinkercad and kind of grow your skill set into other modeling softwares. Okay. And then a few final stories, just some things to share with you guys as we're kind of rounding this out in this 20-minute session or 25-minute session. A couple of cool stories for inspiration. This story is a school in Carlsbad or in California that is partnered with an organization called Enabling the Future. You guys can go to enablingthefuture.org and they will connect you with kids around the world that are in need of prosthetics. Maybe they were born without a limb, whatever it may be. And your classroom of students can work with them and build them a 3D printed prosthetic that's fully custom, right? So it's a really cool project. And this school has done like over 30 prosthetics for kids around the world. Brookwood is a school in Massachusetts that created this really cool website to get the community and the parents involved in what they were doing with 3D printing. So they used something called Wix, which is a website builder, really easy. And they created a website called the Design Problem Bank. The cool thing is all they had to do was put these little boxes in here. You click on the box and there's a form that comes up, and they went out to the community and they said, hey, we want our students using the 3D printer to create things for you guys, right? Your ideas and your creations or your problems you want solved. So go on our website, the Design Problem Bank, and submit your ideas and problems, and we'll get our students in groups and design solutions. So they keep a record of all the stuff they've created, and there's tons of cool projects in there. So go ahead and check out the Brookwood Design Problem Bank at any point. Okay. And lastly, what can happen just exposing students to 3D printers in the classroom? A lot of the times when I talk about my STEM kits and I show that you can do the print and teach lessons, they're like, well, we want our students designing. And I'm like, hey, sometimes just exposing young students to this 3D printer, even if you're just making manipulatives to do hands-on lessons in math class, right? It will expose them to it and they'll want to create their own stuff. And that's exactly what happened with Max. He was exposed to the 3D printer in the classroom by doing the lessons that we had. He went home and he said, I want to learn how to design. So he started designing on Tinkercad, And long story short, he wanted to turn his regular skateboard into an electric skateboard. So he designed and printed a battery pack and learned about electronics, all things that he did not have experience in. But he just got excited about this and designed and printed this battery pack and turned his skateboard into an electronic skateboard or electric skateboard. And then he went on to start a company selling skateboards like this. So this is, once again, sometimes just the exposure of making the 3D printer a part of the culture of the classroom can like spark students' minds to want to go and create things on their own, which is really great. So mystemkits.com can allow you to do those print and teach lessons, and it can do those design challenges. Hopefully some of those other resources got you excited that I shared about. Once again, this is a short session, can't cover everything, but I just wanted to go over some of the things in there. This is just to show you some of the 3D printers we have. If you have more questions about it, you can go ahead and send me an email at the end of this. Now, if you're on here and you want to go sign up for an extended trial, go to mystemkits.com and use code STEMWednesday1. This is number 1 session, so we're doing it there. So thank you all for joining. Reach out to me if you have any questions about our Robo 3D printers, my STEM kits. If you want some information on pricing, all that stuff, we can help you out there. Once again, I hope in this session you were able to learn about some of the areas that 3D printing is used, some resources that are available at your fingertips if you want to use a 3D printer in your classroom, or if you're looking for it, like what to look for, right? And where to go and what resources exist, right? So thank you all so much. Reach out to me, braydon.moreno@boxlight.com. The code was STEMWednesday1. Yes, all lowercase, okay? STEMWednesday1, mystemkits.com, all lowercase, okay? So yeah, that'll give you, go to mystemkits.com, and that will give you a free 3-month trial to the platform to check it out, okay? And go ahead and type in that poll if you're interested in any of the products. Once again, if there's any questions, oh, thank you, Sandy asked, is there grant funding? We do have an in-house grant writer, people. So if you're looking for a grant, usually there is a minimum kind of amount for the grant. So if it's a single school, a little bit more difficult with the grants, but there is different types of grants out there. If you're looking for just like one 3D printing program, I highly recommend using Donors Choose. That story about Shelly Emsley, the first story that I love so dearly, she used Donors Choose and got her first 3D printers. So that is a great area to use. Patrick said I was delayed. Will you make the recording available? Patrick, we will make the recording available. Do not worry. I'm going to be sending out to all the people that registered and all the people that were not able to attend. So thank you all. I think someone else asked, I think John also asked about the grant. So hopefully you got that answer in there as well. Yeah, but thank you all so much. Once again, I'll keep sticking around. If there's any other questions about 3D printing in the classroom, what do I do? How do I get it set up? Hopefully in this quick session, you were able to get that. So thank you all so much. I appreciate you guys coming in for our first session. We have a whole bunch of sessions coming up. So stay tuned for that. Lots of exciting stuff. I'm going to go ahead and also share the link. Thank you, Jillian. Appreciate you having it ready. Jillian is my counterpart on the STEM team. So Lee said, thank you. We just purchased a smaller robo printer. Appreciate you so much. Let us know if you have any questions. Once again, here's my contact. It is very easy to get up and running and get going using that printer. Lots of great feedback on it. So reach out if you have any questions. Thank you, Jillian, for putting that. Go ahead and click that link if you're still in here. If you want to sign up for any of the other sessions we have, Jillian will be hosting, the one that put that link, will be hosting a session next week on the lab disk. I'm going to go ahead and click that so you can see this. Using the lab disk, which is one of our products, our all-in-one science lab, to support 4 types of thinking. So there's going to be cool sessions. We're going to be bringing on special guests and stuff every week that we can. So thank you all so much. I will go ahead and end this, and I will share the recording with you all. I don't see any other questions coming in. So have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your week. And thank you for joining our first STEM Wednesday about 3D printing made easy for educators. Take care.